Hello, and welcome to my Cat Vibes series. This is episode 236, and I'm Cat Corelli. So today, I'm showing you the timeline for, a paint through, whatever this thing is called, a paint through for an artwork called Into the Arcanum. This is the name of the actual painting, Into the Arcanum. But this artwork is used for an album that I'm working on currently, which is called Gehenna Arcanum. And I think that I'll be using this same artwork for every single that is going to be released. Yesterday, I released the first single from this album, and hopefully on November 25th, I will release the second single. I first thought that I would be using kind of this in-between phases of my painting for the singles artwork. Like, I first thought that I would take literally this early sketch of the painting and use it for the first single, and then a little later, when I would be a little further into the painting, I would take that, I would take a picture, and I would use that one for the second single. And then, the next one for the third one, and then I would use the final artwork for the album. And then I thought, no, it kind of sucks, and it didn't pan out that way because it turned out that for the most part, I ended up painting at nighttime when it was dark, and taking pictures, taking photos of a painting, especially an unfinished painting, or rather just, a painting in its early stages, taking pictures of that just with a lamp for light. It's not the best idea. I tried to do that and it kind of looked ugly. And I didn't want to spend a lot of time in Corel Draw trying to mitigate all the, yellow light and that kind of stuff. I thought it's not worth it. So I ended up just, finishing this painting and then using the finished painting for the first single's artwork, cover art, and I will be using the same exact cover art for the subsequent singles and for the final release for the album. Now, the important thing, I kind of think that this painting, in my view, subjectively, that's just my perspective, I kind of see it as a good achievement because I ended up painting this without any reference at all. It is so much easier to paint, people when you have a reference, when you have a reference photo. You have something to paint from, you can verify things, you can measure things, and it's so much easier. In this case, I'm using an old sketch of mine, a pencil drawing from the year 2006, which hilariously was signed Catherine Bergstein instead of Catherine Corelli, because back then, in 2006, I was using kind of a pen name / kind of a pseudonym, Bergstein, and then I dropped it. So I had a pencil drawing with a girl who had very, very weird anatomy. She had 3 elbows and something weird going on about her knees, and that was kind of the whole point. I loved to draw back then in the early 2000s or mid-2000s. I loved to draw kind of fantastic, macabre creatures, and that was my thing. And I would spend a couple hours with a pencil and draw something like this, and then, I wasn't that much into painting at that time somehow. So I'm using that old drawing for the initial idea, but of course I didn't want to just repaint, an old drawing from 2006. I wanted to kind of build upon that, and I've changed the angle to make it more interesting, and I didn't want this girl's face to be visible. I wanted it to be I wanted her to channel the vibe and the whole expression and everything that she thinks and feels at the moment. I wanted her to channel that only, not through the eyes, because that's pretty straightforward. When you show some eyes, when you show an eyebrow, and it's one thing. But I wanted for that to happen, to be conveyed through her pose, and just merely with the tilt of her neck and the cheekbone and the hair. So it's kind of an experimental painting, I guess. Theoretically, I could have found a reference and ran with something just to make it easier to paint, but I didn't want to. I thought that I want to deliberately go for an actual challenge, like trying to paint this painting without any reference, just using my imagination and the initial old pencil drawing. Which, by the way, ended up not being very helpful at all, because, it's just like, it was so disproportionate, it was so surreal, and sometimes as you're looking at the screen right now, right? Sometimes you see that drawing is right to the right from me, over there, and a little further into the video, you'll see it a little clearer. So that initial pencil drawing actually wasn't of much help. Plus, I made up this whole background here, and I kind of improvised everything on the go, because I was first wondering, where does the light come from? Where's the source of light? And is there one source of light? Are there two sources of light? And how's that going to pan out? And what kind of door is this? And I ended up kind of trying to paint a door that is kind of reminiscent of a submarine door or a prison door, but is neither. And what is this place? Where exactly is this girl? I don't know. I think it is most likely the walls are metal, and it's probably like rusted metal or something, and the window is kind of bizarre and futuristic, and there is kind of a window sill, and everything is out of proportion because the girl is pretty large comparatively to the door, because the door is pretty small. If she stands up, she's gonna be pretty damn tall. She's gonna be way taller than the window and way taller than the door. And I kind of thought about this when I just started out with this painting. I was thinking that, I can either make her smaller so that she would kind of be more, on par with the dimensions of the room or corridor or wherever she is. Or I can try to enlarge everything around her. But then I thought that actually this painting is symbolic. It has some symbolism to it. So after thinking about this for a while, like for a whole day, I was thinking, what am I supposed to do? Should I make her smaller? Because obviously she's too large for a door like this. Like, who lives here? Or what kind of people are walking through this door? And why is she trying to open it? And how the heck is she going to get out? And what is this altogether? But then I thought, there is some symbolism here, because she has to sit on the floor in order to open the lock. This place is not built for her. She doesn't belong here. That's kind of, the symbolism, the hidden symbolism behind the painting. She's not supposed to be here. If she was supposed to be here, things proportionately would have been the same size as her. They would be comparable, right? But they're not. And by the way, pardon me for the footage here. I was using my old Xiaomi phone, and I guess I didn't fix the exposure, and it's kind of overly exposed. But this patch of the video will just eventually end. Fortunately, it's not a long one. Now, speaking of which, you see the pencil drawing from 2006 to the right. you see what I'm using for reference, and I'm not really following that reference. I'm just using the basic idea of what was there. In the original drawing, her hair were kind of stretched, pulled, and pinned to the ceiling, or so it was kind of implied. And that door had some stone boulders on top of it, and her fingers kind of swirled like they were tentacles into the lock in an attempt to open it. And I don't know, she doesn't even look human that much, because you see that she has some weird ass anatomy. She has some weird bone structure, multiple elbows, multiple knees, like, I don't know what kind of monster is this. Now, the girl in my modern painting, there is nothing really egregious about her anatomy. She's more or less human, right? Well, maybe she's not anatomically perfect, per se, but she's definitely human. Her hair are kind of weird because they either flow through the window into this room or corridor, or they flow out from here into the window. Kind of depends on, how do you want to see it. Now, going back to the painting. So, as I was thinking about the proportions, I was thinking, well, it's kind of part of the symbolism. She's not supposed to be here. If she was supposed to be here, then the size of everything that surrounds her would have been comparable to the size of her body. She doesn't belong here. That's why she's trying to get out. There's a simple answer to this question. She's trying to get out because she doesn't belong here. And I ran with this idea. So I thought about this in the very beginning. I thought, well, the door is kind of small and she's kind of large, and what am I going to do about this? And I thought about it and was like, okay, well, I can fix it. I have I have a choice. I can make her smaller, or I can leave it as it is and try to lean more into this idea and develop this idea. Because originally, as I was looking at the old pencil drawing, I was like, okay, there is a weird girl who's trying to get out of a weird door, and it's not immediately obvious where is she. Is she trying to get in, or is she trying to get out? That was the whole idea of the original pencil drawing. And she's kind of weird, and it's kind of bizarre, and that's it. It didn't have any deep symbolism. I wanted to deepen the meaning of this idea, so I had to go with something a little bit more complex. So again, the idea of a smaller door and a smaller window, but a larger girl, that I left there, but I also added other elements, like the door. The door is actually made of steel. It's a steel door, but it's not immediately obvious. Is it a prison door, or is it a submarine door, or is it, I don't know, what kind of door is it? Or is it a freezer? We don't know this. The other change is that this girl has human anatomy. Even though her hair behave in a not so very realistic way. They just flow kind of through the window. And I will leave the rest of the meaning for you to figure out, because I'm not going to explain the meaning of this painting. As for the process, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been tedious, as you can see, because you see how much change am I doing to the body. Because I don't have any reference, and I'm just kind of winging it all the time. You see here, I figured out that the shoulder is too low and it just can't be there. I was trying to figure out the neck anatomy. I spent some time looking at my own neck in the mirror, trying to figure that out. The shoulder, the scapulas, thighs, and it ended up still, in the final painting, it still ended up being kinda imperfect. But then again, I did not set out to accomplish a perfect painting. It's kind of a bizarre painting anyways. So it's supposed to be kind of loose. And it's supposed to be very painterly. Here again, the exposure is crap and you see the glare on the painting. Lots of daylight, probably not the best angle. But this painting was supposed to be very painterly and loose. I didn't want to tighten it up too much. I didn't want to go into too much detail. Nonetheless, it was a tremendous challenge, at least for me at this stage. I spent... When did I start this painting? I don't quite remember. I think it was in like early October, and I finished it just around, what was that? October 21st, I believe. I was trying to minimize the sessions, and I was trying not to get too hung up on, you know, the nitty-gritty of it. But I wanted to have some interesting lighting here. And that was challenge number one. Challenge number two is actually her body anatomy, because I wanted to keep it kind of realistic, but I didn't want, at the same time, I didn't want to get too hung up on the little nitty-gritty of like, how is her hip supposed to be tilted and over here. I kind of wanted to hint at things without being overly precise, without trying to accomplish some hyper-realism kind of thing, which I have tremendous respect for. You know, hyper-realism, that's all cool stuff, highly technical, but I just don't see much utility in that. At heart, after all, I'm an impressionist. I think both in music and in painting. So I want those loose brushstrokes. I want this seemingly careless approach, you know. I want the texture. And I've deliberately picked a canvas, a prepped canvas that I had. You know, I prepped it myself, stretched it myself. It has a very thick weave. And I picked it for the texture because I love this this pronounced texture. If I wanted to go for like a highly detailed painting, I think I would go with something like a wood panel, because a wood panel doesn't have that texture. A canvas has the weave, and I picked specifically this canvas, this prepped canvas, because it had that thick weave. So, you know, to pick a very textured canvas and then to try to tighten up the painting too much kind of doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that is my process. Here I'm focusing on that area. I have no friggin' clue what is that. You know, whatever you see there is there. Let's put it this way. A shadow is supposed to be there, and you know, that window sill, whatever it is, light is beaming through that thing, whatever it is. Looks like it's a windowsill, yeah. But yeah, the girl is huge. If she stands up, she's gonna be really, really tall. She will, in whichever case, she would have to crouch through this door because the door is so small. This place is not for her, and this place wasn't built for women like herself. Shoulders, 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 yet again. The shoulders were somehow one of the biggest challenges in this painting. This left shoulder, somehow. And the right one too, to be fair. I was trying to imagine the bone structure, and I did not use any reference. And the neck. You see, I'm trying to hint at the scapula, but she's not not necessarily a very thin girl. She's also not thick. She's not fat. She's just kind of medium. I had to imagine what would she look like, you know, and what the fingers would look like, and how can you sit like this. I actually tried to sit. You know why I got rid of her right leg poking out over there with that right knee, which I was painting in the beginning of the painting? Because I actually tried to sit down like this. You know, I woke up one morning and I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just see. Is it possible, physically possible, to sit down like that. I tried, and I could not sit down like that. Even though first I thought that it's a good idea, and it's going to be very expressive, and then I tried it, and I realized that I can't. It's just, no, you can't. I mean, and I would not recommend for you to try to sit like this, if you don't want to injure yourself. So I tried it, I figured out that that's unrealistic, and I should get rid of that leg poking out. And let's say that her entire right leg is somewhere behind her body, and that's out of our field of view. We don't see it. Here I'm doing something to that windowsill. I don't know, where is this? I mean, it might be some kind of a metaphorical kind of tower somewhere, some place, some non-existent place. I don't know, whatever this is, a castle. A high tower somewhere in surreal world, in surreal land, this kind of thing. It has windows. I wouldn't want to be in a place like this because it's pretty nightmarish, if you think about it. But I gotta say, this is something from my dreams. In my dreams, I get to go to places like this occasionally, and I see all sorts of weird there, including places like this with this tiled floor, with strange tiles when it's like some tiles are square and then other tiles are kind of rectangular. And they're not square, and makes you wonder in the dream, like, who was building this place? What were they thinking? Why? Did they run out of square tiles or something? So that's part of the reason why I've depicted the tiles on this floor this way. This is not a normal way to lay tiles on a floor. You would have, uniformly square tiles probably, right? But not here. Here, it's kind of odd. And it kind of looks better this way, I think, so I have this weird, odd tiles here. The door is weird, too. Everything is weird about this place. The door frame is bizarre. The door itself is weird. But, I mean, this is a painting, and it is not supposed to be a specific place. This is not a specific location, so... it's a painting and this is art, so it can be whatever. Most importantly, I think there is a benefit in me not really defining what is this. Is this a prison? Is this a tower? Is this in fantasy world? Is this in surreal world? Is this in horror world? In whatever. I'm not defining this. And the point is that I'm leaving this to the viewer. I want the viewer to look at the finished painting and to see things for themselves. I always thought when I was a little kid, when I would look at something, when I would look at a little bit of something, not at the whole thing, but just at a little bit of something, a hint. It's almost like peeping through a slightly open door. If you look through that slightly open door, you don't see the whole room. You see just a little bit of that room. You see maybe a piece of the table and the edge of a chair, and maybe of a drawer set or something like this, or a cupboard, and you see a piece of the carpet. You don't see the entire carpet. And you see that someone is there because, there's someone's arm. And all of this you see just through a very, very narrow space. You can't open the door, and you're too eager to watch, so you don't close the door. But the point is that your imagination fills out everything that is missing, because you start to wonder, what kind of table is this? What kind of carpet is that? Who is that person who sits there? What is that window like? What story is this? Is this the second story? Is this the first story? Where are we? So you look at those things and you try to figure things out on your own. Your imagination just leaps in and tries to fill in all the gaps. And that's the magic of it, And I guess uh, because I love this feeling of not knowing everything. And this is art. It's kind of supposed to provoke your imagination. I don't want to explain everything, and I don't want to give the full picture in the painting. I'd rather go with a bunch of hints than go with a solid, straightforward, one-way narrative. Because in the end, you can see this painting in a variety of ways. Some people will just see a girl sitting on the floor, a naked girl doing something with the door, and they probably won't even notice that the girl is disproportionately large, and it's kind of a weird place. They'll just, okay, that's a girl with very long hair. And they won't even ask the question, why does she have such long hair, and why is her hair so fiery? Other people look at this and they'll be like, it's kind of bizarre. Is there some strong wind here? And why is her hair kind of sucked out into the window? What's going on there? Why is she sitting like this? Why wouldn't she stand up? Or why would she not crouch? What's about that? And other people look at the door and wonder, like, is she in a prison? Is it like a cell? Is it a dungeon? Is it what the heck is this place? Is it a school, maybe? Or is it like some Victorian setting? Judging by some elements in the scene, or where is it? So people start asking questions, and that, I think, is the magic of it. I have my own perception and my own understanding of what the idea wanted of me in this painting. I had a feeling, I had an idea that wanted to manifest itself through this painting. I caught that idea, I went after it, as if I was chasing a rabbit. And it brought me here. And as I was painting, the idea was developing. It was becoming bigger and larger. And I was seeing it in a certain way. And then as I was going further, it just opened up to me in more and more ways, as I progressed with the painting. But the viewer is not going to see it the same way that I see it. And that's fine. I think that's beautiful. So I want everybody to see whatever they want to see here. There is the core concept, which is right in front of you, unfolding here in this painting, but then there are all these layers of meaning that one can see or neglect or kind of, gloss over or interpret in, according to their lived experiences, according to what is scary to them. Some people will probably look at this painting and be like, gosh, this is a scary, scary woman. I don't want to look at this woman. And others will find her very attractive. It kind of depends, Some people will find this setting kind of scary and ominous, and others will find it pretty comforting, maybe, perhaps, because of the warm colors, because, it's kind of inviting. It doesn't look very bleak. But then there's always the question of why the heck is this lady trying to get the heck out of here? That probably something is wrong, right? Something is not right. Otherwise, she wouldn't be trying to get out of this door, right? And the door is probably locked since she's trying to, get into the lock and do something about it and get out of here. Yeah, so there's always that. But anyways, there's a ton of layers here in this painting. I probably could have painted this a lot faster, would I have had a reference, or maybe would I have had a much clearer idea of what exactly am I doing. But, it's okay either way. I think, that's my opinion, I think it's okay either way to figure things out as you go, or to have a preconceived vision of, this is specifically what I want to paint. This is the subject matter, this is whom I want to paint, or this is what I want to paint, And this is precisely what it's going to be, and I'm not going to allow for much discrepancies on the weight. That's fine too, but sometimes, specifically in this case, it's not that I didn't know what am I painting. I had the basic idea and I started there, but then I just wanted to allow myself to not know what am I doing. I wanted to go into that rather childish place where I can be a child again, and I can allow myself not to know. I can allow myself not to know what is gonna be in this door. You see, I'm leaving those 2 spots blank because I just don't know. If I want to put prison bars there, or do I want to put glass there, or they're going to be empty. What is behind that door? I myself don't know as I'm painting. Is it going to be dark there? Or is there going to be something else? Is there someone who's going to be there? Or no? I don't know these things. But that's, that was the pleasure of painting this. Painting and trying to figure things out as I went on and on. And I guess I want the viewer to also enjoy, to a certain extent, this kind of experience. Like when you look at things and you're like, maybe this is this and maybe that is that, and it kind of makes sense, but maybe it doesn't. But well, that thing makes a lot more sense. But that's an interesting theory too. And finally I got to those spots. Again, I'm not going to explain anything about those spots because it's kind of, again, up to the viewer to decipher it or to see it the way you want to see it. And the meaning of the painting will change depending on that. It took me a whole while, a long time, to actually figure out what do I want to see there. I spent so much time thinking about this. In the end, I just thought, what, let it be what I feel should be there. And let the viewer make their own judgment based on this. So this painting is the cover art for the first single called Gone to Black. I hope you've listened to this track, to this song. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a serious song though, it's not a goofy track, it's not a romantic track, there's nothing romantic about it. It's actually a pretty heavy one. There's going to be a second single and I hope to drop it on November 25th. I think I'll be using the same exact artwork for that one. I still don't know what song exactly am I going to release. I think it comes from somewhere. And it's going to be released on November 25th. At least I'm going to try to do the best I can to release it on the 25th. Meanwhile, thank you very much for being with me. Thank you for staying on my channel. Thank you for watching my content. Here's the original pencil drawing, by the way, from 2006. Thank you for your wonderful comments. I love y'alls, and you will hear me on the next episode. Meow.